big day, the day I got on that California Limited and came to Hollywood.
Now, my brother Roy was already in Los Angeles. Both of us were unemployed. We solved the problem by going into business for ourselves. We established the first animated cartoon studio in Hollywood. Several years of producing one series after another on shoestring budgets followed. Mickey Mouse came into our life.
He popped out of my mind onto a drawing pad on a train ride from Manhattan to Hollywood at a time when the business fortunes of my brother Roy and myself were at lowest ebb and disaster seemed right around the corner. Mickey's first actual screen appearance was at the Old Colony Theater in New York in Steamboat Willie. Mickey was the first cartoon character to stress personality. I thought of him from the first as a distinct individual, not just a cartoon type or symbol going through comedy routine. Mickey was simply a little personality assigned to the purposes of laughter. Saw the handwriting on the wall early, because the short subject was just a filler on any program. I just felt I just had to diversify my business. Now, if I could crack the feature field, I could do things. I had done a little story research on different fairy tales I might do, and Snow White was one of them. With the profits of Snow White, I built a studio. The studio ended up costing us around $3 million. By 1940-something, we owed the bank $4.5 million. But I had all these pictures in work. Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia. So then I started out, and the first one I think I did there was Cinderella. Then the next one on the schedule was Alice, but I had another one coming right behind it. I had Peter Pan. Cinderella hit, made a lot of money. Alice, one of them came out and just made a nosedive. There are millions of people who didn't care about Alice. There's no heart to it. Without that heart, you see, I don't think anything will laugh. In other words, with every laugh, there must be a tear somewhere, and I believe in that.
After a long concentration on live action and cartoon films, we decided to try something that would employ about every trick we had learned in the making of films. We would combine cartoon, live action, in an enormous fantasy, Mary Poppins. And what a far cry that was from Snow White.
Television was the start of Disneyland. The idea for a Disneyland lay dormant all those years. It came along when I was taking my kids around to these kiddie parks, and I'd take them around, and we used to go out on every Saturday and Sunday. We went everywhere, zoos and parks, little parks forming things. And while they were on the merry-go-round riding 40 times or something, you know, I'd be sitting there trying to figure what you could do. And when I built the studio, I thought, well, gee, we ought to have really a three-dimensional thing that people could actually come and visit. So every time I get thinking of television, I would think of this park. And I knew that if I did anything like the park, I had to have some kind of a medium like television to let the people know about it. Park means a lot to me in that something will never be finished, something that I can keep developing and adding to. Not only can I add things, but even the trees will keep growing. The thing will get more beautiful every year. Now, I want to share with you some of our ideas, some of the philosophy for Disney World. I've always said there will never be another Disneyland, and I think it's going to work out that way, so that there is a distinction between Disneyland in California and whatever Disney does in Florida. Here in Florida, we have something special we never enjoyed at Disneyland, the blessing of size. There's enough land to hold all the ideas and plans we can possibly imagine. It will be a community of tomorrow that will never be completed. But the most exciting, and by far the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World, will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow. It will never cease to be a living blueprint of the future.
where people actually live a life they can't find anywhere else in the world. You know, I was stumped one day when a little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" And I had to admit I do not draw anymore. Well, then you think of all the jokes and ideas. No, I said, I don't do that. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Mr. Disney, just what do you do?" Well, I said, sometimes I think of myself as a little bee. I go from one area of the studio to another and gather pollen and sort of stimulate everybody. I guess that's the job I do. Well, after 40 some odd years in the business, my greatest reward, I think, is that I've been able to build this wonderful organization. Also to have the public appreciate and accept what I've done all these years. That is a great reward. But all individuals are different. Some of us just wouldn't be satisfied with just carrying out a routine job and being happy. Yet I envy those people. I had a brother who I really envied because he was a mailman. But he was the one that had all the fun. He had himself a trailer, and he used to go off and go fishing, and he didn't worry about payrolls and stories and picture grosses or anything. And he was the happy one. I always said, he's the smart Disney.